8 core principles. We've talked about them, and I'm I'm excited that Sadama is going to be in the lexicon of Ask
That's
Mike
right.
going forward. But are we going to take that with us into this week's conversation, Mike? Are we heading in a different direction? What are we going to do today?
Well, we kind of take those, and we're not like, I don't want it to be as boring as I hate this to say this about my minister friends, but here's our 8 points. And let me go through them one at a time until we sing the hymn and we take up offering. So we're not doing that, but what we're doing right now is talking about the how we rehearse, how we set our bodies in posture using
Okay.
those core principles in order to do that correctly and uniformly throughout the band.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Ask Mike. And we are in a multi episode conversation uh, referencing, and we're calling this Mike Lunney's Marching Band Academy. And and so we've had several lessons prior to this week, if you want to go check those out. But today, as Mike said, we're going to kind of dive into marching and body movement basics. And what does that mean? Is there a standard? Is there a norm? Is there a uh, because in your adjudication experience, do you find yourself saying, no, that's not what you should look like in that position? Or maybe we could work on that. I know you're nicer than I am. My audience
No,
would be like, no.
yeah, yeah. Is that really what you meant to do? Or my favorite is one I picked up from Anthony Gibson, which was, well, that's one way to do it.
Well, there's one way.
That's one way you could do this.
So what can you tell us? What should we be? Maybe this is my first time trying to look at a band and say, is that good posture? Is that the way we want to move? What can you do to help us? Can you give us some thoughts or tricks or just some mental concepts that we can follow?
Oh yeah, no doubt. You know, I think one of the main things we've got to really concentrate on is that, and I think all band directors know this, but they don't always follow it. But that anything you do, as long as it's uniform, it can be definitely acceptable in
Okay.
adjudication and even a halftime show, whatever it is, because audiences watch the band, and you can take someone who really is not trained at all as far as marching band, and you can ask them which band was better at halftime, and they'll tell you their opinion, and you can go, well, why? And a lot of times they don't know.
Right.
They just know that one band looked cleaner than the other band, or they
I
sounded
liked it
cleaner.
better. Yeah.
I liked it better. It might just be a preference of the music, but when it gets down to it, sometimes it's just that things don't all look the same. There's something in our brain, I think, that clicks when everything looks the same.
Right. And that's what I meant. Not necessarily program, but if you're asking them which band was a better band, they just say, I don't know. I just liked that one better, even if they don't have vocabulary to tell you why. But
Yes.
what they may be saying is, as we've talked about in prior episodes, they just had confidence in what they were doing. They just seemed to be on purpose, and they just presented it better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's just cleaner, and
Yeah.
it's just how they present themselves as a performing ensemble. Because you look at our friends in DCI, and you might have like the top three drum corps that have vastly different marching styles.
Right.
Vastly different,
Absolutely.
but as long as they do what they do at a high level, they'll be in those top three. There's no doubt about that. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go through the things how I teach the different set positions and horn carriage and things of that nature, which seems, I mean, hopefully no one just turned off the podcast right there going, oh my God. Yeah.
Hey, before you jump into that, I'm going to side note you in these meetings that we just had. I did. I just enjoy watching cores on YouTube, etc. But last I'm dating this podcast a little bit, but last year Bluecoats won
Yeah.
and loved the show. Had a great time. This year they kind of went completely different to me
Mm-hmm.
in their program, and it, I enjoyed it. I saw a video where there was a rain out, so they were just performing the show, and I listened to it. But one of the guys at the sales meeting, trumpet player, great guy, is kind of a jazzer, never really paid attention to much DCI stuff, and so another salesman and I took it upon ourselves to indoctrinate him into why he should enjoy
evangelize.
We were going all the way back to the 2000s, and but this show, and one guy would pull that up and he'd go, yeah, that's great, but wait, this one. And by the time we turned around and he was glassy eyed and paying attention to something else, we're still like, but let's watch this one again.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'll go down that rabbit hole on YouTube and all those YouTubes that say not the 93 Blue Devils.
Right. But one of the reasons I bring that up is it seems to me that even the same group can have a different feel and or personality, to your point, that they do what they do well that year, and it may not look like that exactly next year. Now, some corps you watch or you listen, you go, yep, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Every single year you can pick something, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but that's a defining thing for them.
Right. There's no doubt about that.
It is. So I'm asking you, do you say that carriage and movement and all those things kind of create your identity, or as long as you do it well, that people go, yep, that's them?
And we don't have the fluidity of a drum and bugle corps, especially a world-class one. So we have to kind of establish what we do in our band programs. And I guarantee you'd better stick to that, because when those freshmen come back as sophomores, you might have maybe 2 little changes in your marching technique. If you do any more than that, you're going to lose a whole lot of kids.
Oh, yeah.
Where those drum corps, it is amazing. And in fact, talk about, chasing a tangent kind of thing. But I think it's a consequence of social media, because when I marched drum corps, we didn't even have internet. We didn't have cell phones. And we had this thing called Drum Corps World, which is a little magazine that was published once a week by Steve Vickers. He's an old Skyrider, by the way, but he's still published in that magazine. But we would pick that up and we would read, like the Wall Street Journal, we'd read all the show scores and things.
Sure.
And so corps kind of stayed within their lane. Santa Clara Vanguard looked like Santa Clara Vanguard, etc. And then all of a sudden social media hit and things moved so quickly as far as information and seeing corps, that corps felt the need, and they had to feel the need in order to stay relevant. Now you've got to change severely. Yeah. And that's what, like, Blue Stars are, they're a good example of that. They're going to change their show as much as they can. Phantom Regiment does not look like the Phantom Regiment of old, but it's incredible. Right. Even the Blue Devils are taking dives off of cliffs that I never thought they would do.
I agree.
And I love it. I love it. But I think it's an offshoot of social media that we get to see. We can sit at home and see all the shows last night, little excerpts.
Right. Say, by the way, congratulations on a great season with the Skyriders.
Hey,
doing great things, man.
Yeah. Well, that group did well. We did our little cool little 3-show tour and got really good scores. Got our gold medal in sound sport, which you have to enter sound sport to climb the ladder. And so we're going to see what we're going to do next year. But we had 76 performers, and the most important thing was, and I want to preface this to the band directors, give this to the band directors too, was our corps director, Dale Antoine. Amazing man. He was the corps director in 1986. Think about that. He's the current corps director. But he made mention of the facts that we are not in pursuit of perfection. We are not in pursuit of musical excellence. We're in pursuit of culture.
Right. And great statement.
And man, and actually one member of the staff was released because they were more in pursuit of perfection than it was in the safety of the kids, as far as in rehearsal being belittled and things of that nature. And they just let them go like in 30 minutes. So this does not fit our vision of our corps. And so I'm hoping that, we'll get out of those 76. Wouldn't it be cool if like 30 or so returned? We start building on that. But thank you for the shout out for the Skyriders. We're excited about them.
Cool. Well, talk to us. Get us back on track. I'm great at sidetrack. It's my superpower.
Now to
any conversation.
Now let's go to the exciting part. Woodwind and brass horn position guidelines.
Woohoo!
Now, this is like IRS Form 1040 or whatever. That, but so these are the things I do, and every group does them differently. And so this will be in the Mike Lunney Band Bible. Every time I say that, I feel like lightning's going to strike, and God's going to say, "How dare you?" But it's just meant as a inside sarcastic joke. But it's going to be in a Word document format. It's going to be downloadable from our sources, and that way directors can take what I do if they want to do it, or they can erase whatever they don't want to. But let's start with some groups here. Flute and clarinet. I like it in set position.
Hey, but wait, Mike, what are you teaching me? What are you telling me right now? This is out of your hand, your Bible. This is telling me what I should be looking for when they're in set position, etc. Each
Yes.
instrument group.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Set position is when they're standing basically at attention, getting ready to move. Horns, for the most part, are in front of their body. Okay. So flute and clarinet, we want that to be perpendicular to the ground. So there's no angle either direction. We want it to be away from the body. And we want what I like to call beach ball arms. Like if you have a big old giant beach ball and you're trying to wrap your arms around it, that's how your arms should look when you're holding your horn. Another way of saying that is at no time does any part of our arms touch our body.
Okay.
And then our left thumb is at eye level. Tell them the left thumb, wherever that left thumb is on the horn, that's going to be even with your eyes. And that gives them a very precise location to where it's not, get your clarinet higher, get your clarinet lower, do this. And you can use the top of the mouthpiece, the reed, the embouchure plate hole on a flute, whatever you want to. But I've had real success with kids being able to look at their left thumb. They're not trying to guess around. They're just looking straight through their left thumb.
I'm not challenging you. That's not too high.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because if you see a group do that, it exudes great confidence. And it doesn't take any more strength to do that. I tell them you want to hold your instrument up high and away from your body where you're sure of your own personal strength. And if someone tried to take your horn away from them, you could fight them back and keep your horn. Instead of hugging it to your body, and hugging it to your body like you're afraid you're going to get stuck in a locker and the door's going to be shut behind you. So it exudes that confidence, like I dare you to come and touch this instrument. So that's kind of my process behind it. And I understand, I respect what you just said, because when I do it at clinics, a lot of times directors have the same pushback. So, man, isn't that too high? So no, this is like, here, I dare you to come take this instrument out of my hands. So that's kind of the approach we take with that.
And realizing perspective too, if you're looking from the stands down toward them, you're not going to get the impression that it's too high.
Yeah, we've got to keep in mind, this is kind of a little band hack for you to remember as a director, but we perform on a stage that's below the audience level.
Right.
And that's extremely unusual.
Right. Almost amphitheater.
Yeah, it's very rarely does that occur. Usually, they're looking up to us or at least level with us.
Of course they are.
But if you're in a press box at an adjudication event and they're looking down, I mean, if you're at that Denton Ryan Stadium over in Denton, Texas, oh my gosh, you feel like you're in a helicopter hovering over the band because the press box is cantilevered over the stands. So you're like, when you're sitting behind the glass, you're about 5 yards behind the front row, but about 40 yards in the air.
Right.
So it's a really weird, like like I said, it's like being in a helicopter looking down at the band, So it's interesting. So we've got to remember that as band directors, what looks good looking from the back of your 1A, 2A, and I say this because I did it, your 1A, 2A tailgate of your pickup while you're watching your band. Because that was my scaffolding for years. I just stood in the back of my Dodge Ram truck and I watched the band, is a lot different than what the audience sees. So we've got to sometimes sneak our way into the stadium to see what angles we're looking at. Okay. And then we get to saxophones and bass clarinets. They're kind of odd little instruments for a set position because they have neck straps.
Right.
And that makes it where, we're kind of limited to what we can do. I like to have them have it parallel to the ground. So it's a straight left to right, push it away from their body and at least 5 inches from their belly. And what they're going to do, what they're going to do. They're going to rest that sucker right on their belly like an old fat man with beer. You know what I mean? They're going to do it every single time. So you've got to really kind of keep pushing on them to do it correctly.
Okay. I'm trying to picture this. Are you when you say parallel to the ground, you're not turning the instrument
Yeah, it's parallel to the ground.
sideways.
Yeah, like holding a rifle
Okay.
parallel to the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how
Just
they do it
making
in sled
sure.
position. When they do horns up, it comes up to their mouth.
Cool.
When
Okay.
they rotate the instrument back. Yeah, so it'll be parallel to the ground, not the instrument up perpendicular to be up and down, parallels left to right.
Agreed. I got it.
Yeah.
I just want to make
So
sure I heard you.
yeah, no problem, no problem. Bell fronts, which we're real familiar with bell fronts because we see them in drum corps,
Right.
and so everything's a bell front in drum corps. But we want the bell to be parallel to the ground. Okay, the bottom of the bell is parallel to the ground, so we don't want it shifting around. So that makes it exactly perpendicular to the ground.
Right. So the instrument's perpendicular. The
Yeah,
bell's
the instrument's
parallel.
perpendicular. I like to do the first valve at eye level, and then the eyes the elbows away from the body, and with good beach ball arms.
Okay.
So we've got our elbows away from our body, so we can make it work right. So that helps us in that, for those bell fronts. Trombone, same idea. It's exactly the same because I consider it a bell front. Some
Me too.
directors do it where they do it parallel. They bring the horn up. I've never been a real fan of that, but if you can do that and clean it really well, by all means, go for it. If that's your jam, go for it. And I like to have the mouthpiece of the trombone at eye level, whereas the other bell front instruments, I like to have the first valve at eye level.
But you know what you're saying just makes more sense to me because if you do parallel, then that's two movements you have to do and the horns up.
Yes, and
You
they
have to
are
bring it perpendicular and then bring it up.
yeah, and they are trombones.
Without saying.
Yeah. Trombones fall in two categories: extremely intelligent musicians and the rest of them.
And the rest of them.
Hey, we can go stereo. We need a whole podcast on stereotypes of instruments. Okay. Sousaphones. I always laugh about this one, just various styles. I simply I call them the silverback gorillas of the band. And so I just let them kind of, whoever the oldest section leader, whoever the alpha sousaphone is, they kind of tell the kids what they want to do. It can be as simple, but it has to be the same. Where do we put our right hand? A lot of them, what I really like to have is the left hand on the bits, where it's right behind the mouthpiece.
Right.
And so in the right hand down somewhere on the tubing. Now, whichever one they grab, just make it the same. And then, they can dip the bell a uniform angle forward if it's set, or all the way down. They can lift the horn to right shoulder if it's a contra style shoulder tuba. So there's a lot of different varieties for sousaphone. But sometimes I want to throw this out there. A lot of times we forget about our sousaphones.
I agree with that.
They kind of, everyone else does their thing, and the sousaphones, by nature of being the bass instruments, they tend to be sort of in the middle or to the back of the formation. So our eyes are too busy picking apart everything in front of them, and all of a sudden you get to contest, and you're up in that big old press box as a band director, and you're looking, and all the bells are pointed different ways, and all the hands are in different places, and you're going, oh my gosh, I never noticed that. And you're probably correct. You just never noticed it. So take time, assign somebody to do that, even if it's if you don't have an alpha sousaphone player, make one of the drum majors or the drum major say, this is going to be part of your job. I want you to make sure that the sousaphones do it the same way each time.
Right. That makes sense. There's all these other, we talked about this so many times that a lot of times just because you see it every day, you don't see it.
Right. When you see it correct, it just registers as correct. But it's you just get used to seeing something wrong.
Right. And you don't correct it because you're used to it.
Yeah, and you think sousaphones have various styles. Here we are with our percussion section. Our battery on the field. There's a million ways to do it. I like, sticks in front of the body parallel to the ground. That's one of my non-negotiables, when they're standing at set, the sticks are in front of them. Bass drums can hold at the proper angle, but contact the rim with the butt of the palm of their hand, or they can have, there's 1,000 ways. I was very fortunate my last 10 years or so to have a band director on staff that was a percussion specialist. And I know not everyone has that. And so I just kind of ignored them absolutely completely. I mean, the percussion cannot be at rehearsal. I didn't even notice till 30 minutes in because I knew they were somewhere working with the percussion person. But we don't all, I didn't have that luxury my first 20 years of teaching. Okay. So you've got to figure out a way to do it. If nothing else, I would suggest finding another band director or a college kid that's a good percussionist that can come in and kind of set that up for you. So you're not trying to guess. Because I'm a trumpet player, and if I try to guess at what I think looks really good, that might not be very logistically correct for the snare line.
I can get it. But listen,
Yeah.
Mike, we live in the age of YouTube.
Yeah.
I bet you can find a good drumline video that demonstrates, or at least lets you go, "Ooh, I like that. Oh, I see what that should look like there." You know what I mean? It's out
Yeah.
there. You can.
Oh, there is. And I'll tell you a little band hack to get our drum corps hack. A lot of corps do video auditions.
Okay.
And you have to pay like $50 to audition. And so what I would do in today's world, I would get a kid, I would give him $50. And I'd say, I want you to audition for the Santa Clara Vanguard. He goes, well, I can't march with him. I said, well, that's not what I want. Once you audition, you get access to all their password protected videos.
Right.
So you can go in and look and see and go, that's how they do it.
Oh,
And
right.
so it's well worth the $50. Now you can just YouTube it and kind of watch it, but the videos that they hold near and dear to their heart for auditions is how they're telling the kids step by step by step how to do it. And that is well worth $50 or whatever the cost is. And I don't know if I'm saying that if I'm breaking some kind of copyright thing, but they said it's $50 to audition and the kids looking to audition.
Right.
So we'll just leave it at that. Okay. And one thing to kind of throw in here, with these positions, whether it's set position in front of you or horns up or how we initiate a move in our drill, I want to say this, that there's many predictors of success that happen in a marching band and life in general. And this is hard to believe, but it's not intelligence. It's not good. It's not good looks.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness I can actually maybe be good at something. It's not even IQ. You know what it is? It's grit. That daily passion and perseverance to reach long-term goals. That is the predictor of success in a business, in a marching band, and in a church. And when times get tough, they double down and they go, no, I can do this. I can do this. So I bring that up to say that as soon as you teach all this, 2 seconds later, they're going to do it the old way. They're going to go back to what had to happen, what used to happen, what's more comfortable for them, what's more comfortable for the moment. And so band directors keep preaching that grit, that our success is not dependent upon our intelligence or our IQ. It's dependent upon our grit. So, and I know it seems like, oh my gosh, Mike, we're talking how we hold our horn in front of our body, but isn't it like pretty much one of the first things you see on the field?
Right.
And you already make an opinion.
And my brain is working on a quote that's out there that what you do every day is who you are, or
yes,
making yourself do things the right way every day is how you become successful and right.
Yes.
As opposed to when you feel like it.
And I know my director friends out there will understand this sentiment. For those of you that have a band that kind of sort of works until the last week before contest, and they turn on the steroids and the afterburners, and they try to get it all done in 1 week. And usually they are successful, but there's a certain limit to that amount of success.
Right.
So you're right.
And I think that you're also, those groups that do that may get close to maintaining success, but they'll never really push forward.
Right. They never push past that edge of the envelope.
Right.
And then we talk about with our equipment, how do we hold our horns when we have them in up position, when we're actually performing on the equipment? We're not just carrying it in front of our body. So basically, to give you a down low on it, we have set in front of us. We have horns up when we're playing, and we have horns at trail when we do other body movements and things of that nature. So those are the 3 positions in which we hold our equipment. So we're going now to horns and up position.
This is where the drum major says horns up, and the entire band goes to this set.
Lord, I hope I never hear that on the field again.
You know what I mean.
I do. I'm just giving you a hard time. You 1980s child of marching band. Tweet, 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 tweet.
I know it. Horns up, horns up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, we don't do that. We just raise our hands and the horns come up. Or
Okay.
we start with the metronome, never mind. We won't go into that. I'm just giving you a hard time, my friend. Okay. So
right.
horns up, flute, the lightest instrument on the field, but the hardest to hold correctly. Has to be parallel to the ground with the right elbow up.
Yeah, I
It
bet
is.
that foot joint dips every time.
Oh God, yes. And it's part of it's because it is a very awkward position. With a beginning concert flute, that's not how you teach them to hold their horn. For
Right.
obvious reasons, it's stupid. Okay. It's all our horns up positions are absolutely stupid, but we do them for the visual effect.
Right.
Not because it's easier to play a trumpet when it's 30 degrees above level. I mean, who'd do that in a concert band or a jazz band? Well, Maynard Ferguson, but we won't go there. Okay. So flutes parallel to the ground, right elbow up, right elbow up.
Which is how you keep that foot joint where it needs to be if you keep that right elbow up, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it just looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks professional. Okay. Clarinets, I call it normal concert position, but at a 45-degree angle and keep your chin up. And
So don't
again,
stick them straight out.
yeah, don't stick them straight out. We're not a Middle Eastern Turkish military band, okay, with the metal clarinets. And the most common problem you'll see in your clarinets is they'll like to dip their chin down. Really focus on them getting their chin up.
Okay.
Then alto and bass clarinets, alto sax, alto clarinets. Can you imagine marching alto clarinets? That would be whole. I think if I got back to full-time teaching, I'd have like 6 alto clarinets just to freak everybody out. But
That's fun.
alto sax and bass clarinet, it's like concert position, but the horn is centered with the body.
Okay.
Okay. And that makes it just really easy for them to do. Make sure their elbows are out. That's a biggie. They tend to make their elbows touch their body, which they shouldn't do in concert band, but it's super obvious in marching band. Okay.
Hey, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Are we in up position? We're not necessarily contacting the horn with the mouth yet.
God, I hope not. Yeah,
no, I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it's to get the horn into up position, and then it's within like an inch, and then you adjust to get your embouchure set when it's time to play. But you only
trying to help people ignorant like me.
Yeah, well, I understand, but you only have about one beat at 120 beats a minute to make that transition.
Sure.
But yeah, but it's an interesting process. You just do it enough times and establish that grit to where when you do it enough times, it's just muscle memory, and they know exactly where the instrument's going to end up at. Because you certainly don't want a kid, hitting their face with the horn, which does happen, by the way. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Seriously, I was going to, at some point, we're going to talk about making sure the mouthpiece is a quarter turn in and secure in the instrument before you start flipping it around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
With military force.
Oh my God, I did so many push-ups for dropping mouthpieces personally, This is because I'd forget to do that. And that's 20, mouthpiece hit the turf, 20 push-ups, and we just did it. Okay. Tenor and bari sax. I like to do it like concert position, but I like the bottom bow to be a little bit out to the right, but not impact the right thigh when marching forward. So there's a little bit of where it's to the side form. And I've seen tenor saxes and baris do them straight in front of their body. That takes quite a bit of upper body strength. So if you've got kids that can handle that, it does look more uniform. But if you don't have a lot of time to develop that core strength in your ensemble, sometimes it's better just to let them kind of let it go to the side a little bit. Just an idea.
Okay.
Sousaphones, right hand on valves, on the tubes or valves, wherever you want that to be, you just show them. And I want to say this too, it kind of depends how big your sousaphone players are.
You're going to say.
Yeah.
Physical stature, right?
Yeah. Well, there's one year in Holiday, I had 3 8th grade tuba players who used to be trumpet players. And there was different hand positions on sousaphone when you have 3 little 8th graders sitting there looking at you than when you have 6'2" seniors looking at you, because they can waylay those instruments. So figure out, make it look correct to you, and make sure they do it the same way, how they secure the bits and mouthpiece portion of the horn, how they hold it, how they move it around, things of that nature.
Well, what about our bell front instruments, Mike?
Well, the bell front ones, I like to have it where it's where the horn comes up and the horn is about, I call it 30%. It's like 30 degrees above level.
Okay.
And the way I established that for most of the bell fronts, like especially trumpet, if they will look through the tubing of their instrument, they'll look past the bottom of the bell,
Okay.
and that gives them a line of sight that they can do it. Now, mellophone players, bless your hearts, and baritone players, they've got that bell. They've got a blind spot that's like 50% of their viewing range. So they just have to look at the lead pipe and see that it's above level, and then they march. It's almost like being blindfolded and trying to
Right.
march with some of those horns. But yeah, I do believe I left that off the notes, so I might need to add that later. I guess being a trumpet player, I just never wrote it down.
Because we all know how to do it.
Yeah, right. We all think we do, don't we? Until someone slaps us up behind the head with that Gibbs pop. Rule 46, boom. Uh, so we just want to make sure all that works. Again, going back to grit, you've got to reinforce this every single day. You've got to reinforce this when they play songs at the pep rally, when they play tunes in the stands. You're still reinforcing how our horns are at performance posture.
And I think this is one of those great times to utilize video. They don't believe it till they see, oh, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
They feel like they're doing it, but they're not till they see it.
There is no doubt at all. Okay. And the next one is one that I think it's adjudicated the harshest.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe that's overly dramatic. I don't know. But I call it trail position. In the old days, we called at pistol. We don't use that for obvious reasons anymore. We don't want to bring out any mention of any sort of firearms or weapons on a practice field. It's just, it gets construed as Mr. Lunney said to bring a handgun. So it's like so we just ignore that completely, and we call it trail position. Some call it briefcase, like holding two briefcases beside your body. They call it all sorts of things because it's kind of a newer concept. The first two I talked about, oh my gosh, that was like 1936 UIL marching contest. We talked about horns in front of our body, and then we talked about horns in up position. But trail position was not really a thing until flutter, step, and staging areas, and these things started to happen to us. Okay, so this is my fairly detailed approach to it, and feel free to change what you need to change out there. Flute. I like the flute to be in the left hand. I like it to be when it's to the side of the body, parallel to the ground. Okay. And in no way any contact with the body. Okay. And we grip it with 3 fingers and a thumb is where all the tension is. The pinky doesn't have a lot to do with gripping the horn right there. The pinky does one important thing. It elevates or de-elevates the parallel position of the horn.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So they use the pinky to, say, okay, the back of your horn's too low, or the front of your horn's too low. And they use that pinky to adjust to what
the leveler. Yeah.
It's the leveler. Yeah. That's what I should say. Okay. And the right hand's I call it a loose fist, where the thumb's on the outside and the fingers are underneath. So that way it's not it's a band fist, not a fighting fist. Okay. So it's just a band fist. And this is away from the body as well. Okay. And the shoulders, this is an important point to make on all of these. The shoulders have to be down, because kids immediately when they go in trail, and I know if you're listening audio, you can't see me on the YouTube video, but they tend to raise their shoulders up to their ears because it just feels comfortable for some reason. I don't know why, but you've got to force them to push those shoulders down into the socket, maybe roll them forward, up, and down. And the way I like to describe it to them is make your shoulder blades pinch.
Right.
If you can feel that sitting down, you can feel your shoulder blades sort of pinch towards each other, and that brings your shoulders back. And so if they make their shoulder blades pinch, then that will keep their hands in the correct position. Big thing, keep all the equipment, the loose hand, the free hand, I guess not the loose hand, but the free hand. Make sure it's not against the body. Make sure there's a little bit of a crook to the elbow, so it's not like straight arms like Frankenstein-y, Then clarinet in the left hand as well, parallel to the ground, much like the flute, away from contact with the body. Same thing, grip with 3 fingers and a thumb. Right hand in a loose fist in that what we call our no equipment set position when we do like teaching body move or body drill. Okay, away from the body, and again, shoulders down. Okay, so it's almost identical to the flute. In fact, it's pretty much identical, just a different instrument. But explain to them where you have to hold the horn where you have to hold the horn, because it's hard for the kids to do, because they'll want to do it in their right hand. Because if you go up to a clarinet player in concert band and say, "Hey, come over here and look at this," they will take the horn away from their body and they'll hold it in their right hand.
With the thumb rest. Yeah.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. And there's something comfortable about that. But there's a rationale for using the left hand, is that it's easier to hold it in parallel.
Okay.
It's easier to hold it in parallel. So if you just get them to do that, for me, it's saved a lot of problems. Saxophone and bass clarinet. Hey, we're back to neck straps, my friends. And same as set position. Keep parallel in front of the body, because unless you're going to take time to unhook that instrument and then put it to the side of the body, I've seen them where they'll adjust it underneath their left arm, almost like a football.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's certainly, that's great. So whichever way works for you. For me, it just seemed easier to leave them in set position. When they go to trail's the same as set. And that just seemed to clear up a lot of issues with, well, I play a bari sax. Well, I play an alto sax. Well, I have a bass clarinet. What do I do? So it's the same as set. Just push it 5 inches from your belly, keep it parallel to the ground in front of your body.
Cool. Listen, because you're saying this, it's sparking my repair mind. We probably ought to have somebody in charge of making sure all the neck screws work. Because as soon as you go parallel, that if it's not tight, that neck's going to swing around.
Yeah, there's a lot of upkeep that has to happen. We used to use Wednesday morning. I forget what the drum majors called it. It was like Wednesday morning 10-minute maintenance plan. And so for 10 minutes of the rehearsal on Wednesday, we would have valve oil out there and little screwdrivers and stuff, and we would do all the things you're talking about. And it just gave them a moment to, this is what we're doing for 10 minutes. And they would figure out, oh yeah, I've got to adjust my third valve slide, or my bass clarinet, put a parallel in the neck, and the mouthpiece falls out. You look like the Keystone Cops or something, equipment's flying everywhere. Bring the horn up and the mouthpiece flies. We've all been there. We've seen it. And it's even harder on us when it's a asphalt or cement practice pad, because all you hear is the clink, 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 clink.
Clink, clink, clink.
Yeah. I've always told band directors, you can tell an experienced band director because they know the sound of different pieces of equipment. They can hear something hit the ground and go, hey, that's a Gemeinhardt flute head joint. Or, that sounds like a Bach 5B trumpet mouthpiece. Hey, that was a third valve slide off a Bundy cornet.
That's funny.
So, we joke about that, especially in the stands, as things come out of the horns and hit that was a trombone slide. We know it by how it sounds.
Sure.
With bell fronts, I like to do the bell fronts in the right hand, because it's so much easier to keep it parallel to the ground. You can try this on your own as a band director, especially if you're not a bell front brass player. Do it in your left hand as you hold it, then try to do your left hand next to your body and try to hold that thing parallel. And you've got to crank your elbow till it's in front of your body to make that parallel, because the way your hand holds the bell front valve casing. And so right hand works better. I like them to squeeze down the valves, so they're contacting the valves. I know it's not proper concert position, but I like them to use their thumb to hook that lead pipe and use that pinky ring. Whatever they've got to hang on to, just hang on to it, man. 3 fingers, pinky and thumb, hang on to that horn at trail.
I like to use my right hand because I can spin my trumpet like a gunslinger.
Oh, Lord. Have you seen those things they sell?
No.
They sell an attachment that you can put with your glove. And it's like a Velcro strap. And then there's a deal on your valve case. And then you put the two together and you can spin it. Every band director's worst nightmare. Every sixth grader.
Every repairman's going, I'll see that one soon.
Well, it's like a dentist with candy. It's they repairman. It's job security. They ought to put one in every case as they send the horns out.
I was going to say this to you when you were talking about horns up. I can't tell you, every time I watch those contras flip those contras on their way up to their shoulder, I'm like, oh, just bring it up in one motion. Don't do all the fancy twirling.
Yeah. And the horns have gotten big enough now that they almost can't do that anymore.
Right.
I remember when ages ago when I marched, King came out with their Can Stool King line, and it was 5/4 tuba frames that they developed as G bugles with 2 valves. And those guys, man, they were monsters, man. Every kid had contra line were like 6'3" and about 280 pounds, and they handle those things like baritones. But I always was amazed that other corps could do it. But yeah, it's there was a time when the horns, the contras were not much bigger than a bell front baritone, believe it or not, in olden days. But yeah, so we fall into that. Make sure that no equipment, that it's away from the body and the shoulders are down. A lot of the things you'll see are the same. Sousaphone, they don't have any set different position. They just hold it just like normal, just like normal. Okay. So that gets us through the excitement. I mean, I'm talking the excitement of how you teach this. I would have them, I would always meet with my section leaders and go through all that procedure with them like a day or two before we got the whole band there. And then I would break the band into their sections and then have the section leaders teach all this to the band. So you're not teaching all of this while the sousaphones are just going comatose, going, okay, we just spent 30 minutes teaching around how to hold the horn. And what do we do, Mr. Lunney? Oh, you just hold it the same. Well, great.
Great.
So we try to approach it that direction where it's a leadership position. Plus, they're the ones who are going to have to kind of keep up with it, aren't they?
Right.
I mean, we can sort of see it from the stands, but usually we're frying bigger fish at that point. Is it's up to our section leaders to kind of look down the line and go, "Hey, Susie, that ain't right. You got to."
That's not 30 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do this correctly. Okay, and then we go into the process of the flutter step. I feel like I need that Law and Order kind of chime, to do this.
Tell me what a flutter step is.
A flutter step is a very quickly performed step. Well, quickly in terms of there's lots of small steps, and it's a very specific, precise way of doing it in which we can move from one set on the field to another set without actually marching drill.
The Bridgman Shuffle.
No, that was different. No, I can do the Bridgman Shuffle. One time we're together and we have a few. I'll have to show you the Bridgman Shuffle because that was during my time in the 80s because we all learned it by watching the Bridgman.
Say we did it at Lee because we thought it was fun.
We thought it was fun. Yeah, it is fun. Okay, but no, it's a very distinct, or very precise way of doing things. And at first, if you're not used to it, it's easy to go, I don't want to do this. Because it's unusual. But once you get used to it, you'll find out that it helps so much. It gives a sense of modern look to your band. If it's done right, it's an easy way to, as long as you do the positions correct, it's very hard to judge incorrectly.
Well, there you go.
Point made. If you're marching 32 counts of drill, we can pick that apart. If you're flutter stepping for 16 counts, we're like, well, they looked right.
You got there.
you got there, and everything you did looked uniform with everybody else in the band. So, Congratulations, y'all are amazing. Okay, so we start out with a platform first position turned out, which is heels together, toes apart. Okay, and the way I like to teach it is in time first, and they do this by moving on the platforms of their feet, which is that their toes and the knobby part behind their big toe. That's the platform. Like if you're kind of sort of on your tiptoes trying to get the glass off the top of the shelf,
the front edge of the ball of your foot.
Yeah, the front edge of the ball of your foot. So they're not on their tiptoes by any means, but they're on their platforms. They're not on their heels. The arch, the side of the foot, and the heel is not touching. And so we just set the med, and they just do eighth notes, just hit, 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 hit as they slide their feet. Okay, and then you go faster until you eventually ask them to do small out of time steps and almost a triplet subdivision. So then with their most common mistake, they'll take really big steps. Yeah. Okay. So watch them closely because they'll want to take big steps because they're used to taking 8 to 5 steps. And this is like we're talking like 4-inch steps, 4-inch distances.
Wow.
Okay. 4 or 5 inch distance. So they're just shuffling their feet. It's almost like if you see Mr. Lunney come out of his driveway trying to get the mail out of the mailbox when it's icy. I'm going, you kind of like a penguin moves. You know what I mean? It's like penguin step.
I do.
Okay, so it's more like that because you don't want your heels to contact because once your heels contact, they're going to fly out in front of you on that ice and your butt's going to contact the pavement. Okay, so in a flutter step, you have to do it that way. You must work on your upper body because it must be in a proper trail position. That's where the two come together. Okay, the feet do one thing and the upper body does another. getting all emotional here and choked up. I have to get a sip of coffee.
Marching well as opposed to just marching.
Yes, yes. And so, you can save a lot of time in learning drill. It makes a lot more sense if you're doing what we call staging. Let's say all the woodwinds are coming to the front and the flutes are going to stand on the stage and the clarinets are going to gather around them, but in a very random sort of way. It's almost impossible to write drill to get them there in 16 counts.
Sure.
So every kid has their drill set and their step size. It just gets almost ridiculous. So, we do a flutter step to accomplish that. But again, it's something, think about how many times you work on 8 to 5 marching in your lifetime. It's something new. So you've got to really reinforce it every day.
Well, I am several decades removed, but I can still pretty much measure any, like how deep is my front yard. I can step it off and
Yeah.
march it and tell you pretty accurately how
You can tell it's 15 yards because you took, you took 24 steps.
Right.
You're exactly right. I know. But yeah, so we've done that for
Weird
so
how
long.
that never goes away.
Yeah, it never goes away. So it's like when you see a bunch of band kids walking around the mall for lunch, they tend to end up in step, and they tend to walk at an 8 to 5.
Or they march to the beat of whatever music's on.
Yeah, a bunch of geeks. Yeah. I use one, I try to get on the treadmill. I catch myself marching in step to the music I'm listening to, instead of just walking on the treadmill. Okay, then we get into kind of some things we do for point of attention, things like that. But I want to talk about body warm-ups for just a second.
Okay.
I really want to say this. Do your body warm-ups in the same sequence every single day. And then if you need to truncate it and make it shorter, cut it off one end or the other. Don't change the middle. That way it becomes a muscle memory kind of thing for us. Okay.
Okay.
What you can do the simple stuff. We want to stretch our arms, our legs, our lower body, do some shallow squats, maybe an easy jog to the goalpost and back. That might take about 4 minutes. Okay. Just trying to get the blood flowing. I like to use music picked by the drum majors to create energy. Of course, kind of preface that. I have a list. If anybody wants it, they can email me. And it has about, I don't know, probably 45 tunes that are all clean in nature. And it goes from the 90s back to the 70s. And so there's nothing inappropriate happening. Right. And it's all set and it's listed by the metronomic beat. So it's like at 110 beats a minute, you can do this. Staying Alive's 120 beats a minute.
Right.
Don't touch this, whatever. And you'll say, oh, kids, they've got new music. Guess what they sing on the bus? Okay. Right. They sing they know the old music. They know Amarillo by Morning.
That's funny.
So so it makes it easy they can play that high energy stuff. But when you're marching, sometimes I like to use the Met. But if I don't use the Met in its place from backfield, I use music when I'm teaching body movement. And it just helps the kids kind of relate where the beat is because it just helps. They've got to always feel that beat. Okay.
Sure.
Now, at the points of attention, every day, this is the points of alignment, points of attention, the ankle, the knee, the hip bone, the shoulder, and that little, I say little, the edge of your skull, that bone behind the flap of your ear.
Yep.
I'm talking about? Those all have to line up. Okay. Those are the 5 points of alignment. So you've got to review that every single day, have kids watch each other, have them take care of it. Because again, our posture is our visual tone quality. Tone quality is job one when we play our instruments. Even on a bass drum, tone is job one. The tonality of that bass drum is job one. Okay. And in visual means that posture is our tone quality. So you've got to review that every day, just like we do tone. You can't just take it for granted. Feet, I like heels together, toes apart. We call that first position turnout. And I like the toes 90 degrees at an angle when looked at according to the heels. To some people, that seems too far, but you might give it a try. I'm just kind of throwing that at you, directors, because kids see a 90 degree.
Right. It's a universal concept.
Yeah, it's a corner of a room. You can have them line up on the tile in your band hall floor or in the hallway,
right?
And they can use the tile to measure their feet at a 90 degree. Knees are slightly flexed, but not visible. Okay. And again, we've talked about this before, but and you guys know this out there, and you ladies know this. Do not let them lock their knees or keep reinforcing that because they will pass out. Okay.
Right.
Stomach muscles in and line up with the 5 points of alignment. Now, some of us have more uh, padding and stomach muscle, you might say, than others. But the point is, you've got to make sure you maintain that core strength, and then more importantly, you lift the rib cage. Even sitting in a chair, you can lift your rib cage and expand the distance between your hip bone and your bottom rib. And the way I get them to do that, Derek, is I tell them to put their first finger, their pointy finger, on their hip bone and put their thumbs on their bottom rib, and just like a spreader in a surgical team, spread those two apart and make your rib cage lift up.
Huh.
And they'll start to feel, oh, that's what that feels like. And then you go, can you breathe better? Uh-huh. I can breathe better. Uh-huh. Said, yeah. And it's like, yeah, no kidding. You can breathe better than when you're all hunched over. Okay. I like the arms at side. This is without equipment. Arms at side with elbows slightly rounded without equipment. But we get past that pretty quick, don't we? And all of a sudden we're using equipment. I like the chin elevated only 20 degrees. I don't like it really far in the air because I feel like it makes you kind of unstable at how you stand. Well, not mentally unstable, I hope not, but it makes you unstable physically as you stand. And this is just my belief. I like to have 80% of the weight on the platform of the feet and only 20% on the heels. And I know some very, very good marching instructors out there that preach against that. They want the same amount of weight on all portions of our foot. And as long as you do it the same, it's okay. My rationale is this. If I have 80% on the front of my feet, when I forward march, it's a lot easier to initiate that movement and I don't have to come off my heels. And the good part about doing with all parts of our foot have the same percentage of weight on them is when you march backwards, it does make it easier to march backwards. But I come back with this respectfully. How much do you march forward and how much do you march backwards? So I go to the level of, I think I want to work on what's easiest to march forward on the step off because we don't step off going backwards near as much as we do going forward.
Agree.
So we'll just leave it at that. Okay. So any questions on that, Derek? Anything that pokes out at you? Okay.
I've been over here doing the things that you're talking about while you're just kind of visualizing in my head, and that makes sense. Yeah.
And that, by the way, Derek, that's a really good band hack on its own. Is instead of saying everyone do this, just explain what you're doing.
That's true.
Isn't that interesting? Because if you tell them to do it, they're like, oh, then they overthink the process. If you tell them pinch your shoulder blades, and they say, hey, it's like pinching your shoulder blades, and you do it, the whole band does it with you. Say, everyone, right now, pinch your shoulder blades. Huh? What's he say? What's he mean? What's going on? What's the instruction? Where we at? What do we do next? What do we just do? Are we finished?
Right.
Their brains go haywire. Mine does too. So just explain it. Pictures worth 1,000 words kind of moment. Okay. Horns up with or without equipment. This is just how I do everything. 4 clicks, horns move up. They start moving on click 5. They lock on click 6. Okay. So it's click, 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 move, lock. And I do it as they're what they say to vocalize it. They hear the 4 clicks and they say the word horns up. Horns is the movement. Up is when they stop moving the horn. Okay.
It makes sense.
Then count 6 is nothing. We don't say anything on count 6. And then count 7 is going to be where you're starting to push. So it's like, are they locks on 6? Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Count 7 is the rest. And on count 8, if they're marching forward, they say push on 8, and they say 1 when the heel contacts on 1. So that sounds complicated till you review it, but it just is click, 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 horns up, push and 1. And everyone has to say the words. It's the only way for them to do it correctly. Okay. And even marching backwards, same thing, but it's push and 1. Push is pushing the heels off the ground. And then we push the right foot back, platform back. So still the same vocalization. And you can use this all the way down to, it's not like 30% above level, but you can use getting horns up using a metronome beginner band. I've done it with my trumpet class. I just turn the med on at 60 beats a minute. We're doing our warms. Click, 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 push, push, breathe, 1. And they just know. And so by the time they're freshmen, they're like, oh, that's like we did in 6th grade. Who cares? And they just do it easily. Okay.
Right.
So I kind of brushed over that. That's probably one of the most important points of the whole podcast right there.
Well, let's just fly through that then.
Yeah, let's just fly through it. Now, the reason I went on you push on 5 and you lock on 6, we can call that a 2 count horns up. But remember the good old days when we just said we popped them as fast as we could? Remember those days?
I
And
do.
a lot of bands still do that. Guess what the judges always say?
It's probably not all in sync.
Exactly. Yeah. All it takes is one kid to blow it. Yeah. And they go, if we're going to do that horns up, that's not very snappy, kids. We need to have that. Your band trousers aren't even hemmed correctly. You get these
It's
little
almost like
silver
though you just
panels.
created like a wave.
Yeah. Yeah. You've created the problem. Yeah. It's across the deal. And then I was watching Hebron High School. And then
Okay.
I watched them at a clinic at TBA, Texas Bandmasters Association, for those outside the state. And I watched them do that and I went, oh my God. And so I know Andy from way back when he was
Right.
a panhandle kid. I said, hey, Andy, later on, I waited till he was finished. Andy, why do you do it as like what I called it a slow horns up? He goes,
Sure.
because once we did that, we never got critiqued again.
Point taken.
Yeah. I said, lesson learned. So never again do we ever do a snappy horns up, so
Right.
it's always a push lock. Okay. One little other band hack, when we don't have equipment is I know a lot of us, and I do this too, where you have like one hand over the other hand in a fist and you hold it like the triangle in front of your body. I'm talking
Right.
about,
I do.
we see that everywhere. Focus on getting them to do it where it's like their tips of their thumbs touch and their fingers touch and they're holding it in front of them in the same triangle. And you would be shocked how much that makes them use their core muscles in their body, because they have to, when they do it with their arms contact with their fingers overlapping the other hand, they can use their arms to make their body balance.
Right.
Does it make sense? But they can't do it if they do a power triangle. So a lot of times we'll march with power triangle, but it's like you line up the tips of the thumbs together and with their nose and 5 or 6 inches in front of their body. So they're actually actively looking through the hole in between their thumbs and their fingers.
Sure.
So you'd be shocked. Oh my gosh. We talked about this another one. Don't bend the wrist. Keep them straight, because
I was waiting to see if you're going to bring that one up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to bring it up again because, man, it's one of the most common things I correct. And kids are always so appreciative when they realize the philosophy behind it. But if you bend your wrist, then your arms are holding up the entire instrument if you're playing a bell front. If you keep your wrist straight, it transfers that stress to your muscles on your back. I guess your latimus dorsi. I don't know. I'm trying to pretend like I'm pretending someone's going to out there and go, good Lord, Mike. So I'll just call it your lats. Okay.
Or you probably, all right, son, what are the muscles in your back?
Yeah. We have to do biology before we do marching band. We have to
doctor, son, can.
Yeah.
Anatomy and physiology major.
Well, my dark humor, as long as you don't dissect a freshman. Okay, kids.
So you won't say pistol.
This is the latissimus dorsi. Notice. Dark humor. Sorry, I apologize. I wish I had not said that now. Don't cut that out, Rick. That's gold. It's gold. People are going.
You know how many times in my life that exact phrase has gone through my brain?
What?
I wish I hadn't said that. No.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's my mantra. I need a bumper sticker. I wish I hadn't said that.
Followed by, where did that even come from?
Yeah, that's right. Who hurt you when you were small?
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh Lord. But those things help out a lot. And how to start the marching sequence, explain the use of set and met start. And we're going to kind of go on to that in a further episode later on, but how to start the marching sequence so it's the same every single time, whether it's 4/4 time, 3/4 time. And again, use a field met to teach motion, or at least music that's very dominant on downbeats. This is not optional. If you want to be good at what you do, it's not optional. You cannot have the drum major count. You cannot use a cowbell or a Glock block and hit it with a drumstick as a band director, because you too, believe it or not, you're not perfect. You will slow down and you will speed up to accommodate for the group. Use a Met. I mean, you can just go get an old used bass amp or whatever, and I don't know, figure it out. It's not expensive. You don't need $30,000 worth of electronics. You just need a little time on your hands and get an old jazz band bass amp or something to do it.
It's funny. I prove this to myself all the time because I consider myself a fairly rhythmic person.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I want to know how fast a song is. I'll open up the metronome app on my phone, and there's a tap feature that you can tap with, and supposedly if you tap enough times, it'll tell you how fast the song is.
Yeah.
But as I do that, I watch that fluctuate 82, 85, 87, 83, 85. And I think I'm right on the beat.
Oh, yeah. And do you catch yourself after you tap it? Because I do that and then I go, oh, that thing's broken.
Here's the what's wrong with this app?
What's wrong with this app? No, it's not. It's not the app. It's me. Or I tell the band,
a review on this.
This is a sarcastic moment. I do not say always be sarcastic, but this is a funny one. I always tell the band, quit making the metronome drag. Said you're making the Met drag. Stop it. And so, of course, is what they're doing is rushing. But they just kind of smile. But it does sound like that, doesn't it? It's like, what's wrong with the metronome? Because the ensemble, if you got 100 brass players playing, they will maintain a positive beat, but they'll make the metronome drag.
Right.
You're going.
And it's funny. The more excited they get, the more that metronome drags.
Oh yeah, that stupid metronome. It just can't keep up. It must be a power shortage or something. And I want to close this one about a Nick Saban lesson to close off this episode or this lesson on discipline. Okay. This is his words, and it's my words too, because I stole them from him. Undisciplined people do dumb things. Disciplined people do smart things. Everything we talk about in these podcasts is to find the fundamentals of how do you have the discipline to execute and do the things you need to do daily. This is as a director and as a student. The one thing we all have to overcome is, number one, am I going to do what I feel like doing, or am I going to do or choose to do the things I need to do to accomplish the goal? This is a huge hurdle because the normal state of being is average. When directors tell me the kids are apathetic, well, yes, they are. I meet many apathetic band directors.
Right.
I go to the DMV to get my license renewed, and there's lots of apathetic people there as well.
Absolutely.
That's the average state of being, but I will say this, that very first thing, undisciplined people do dumb things and disciplined people do smart things. And this is really important. Disciplined people hate dealing with undisciplined people.
I do know that's a fact.
And that's where we run into problems on the marching field, isn't it, band directors out there? When all of a sudden one kid's trying to do it right and the other kid's going, I just want to go to Sonic and get a cherry limeade. I don't care. And they start bickering, don't they? And that's what it is, the undisciplined versus the disciplined. So we've got to do so my point of saying that is not just to give you a Nick Saban moment like a Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, date myself there, is the fact that the only way to create discipline in your organization is by doing the same things the same way every dang day. Yeah. If you change it every day, your warm-up routine, how you do your box drills, how you do your marching fundamentals, your points of alignment, what hand you hold your horn in, if you keep changing it, you're giving in to the undisciplined people.
Right.
And the undisciplined people will become disciplined, at least for marching band. They might not ever turn in their algebra assignment, ever, but they will become disciplined in marching band for the simple fact it's muscle memory. So take that for what it's worth. Nick Saban, marching band lesson number 1.
And I'll just compliment that or agree with that by saying it is amazing to me that when they understand the standard, they will go to the standard.
Yes.
You're will.
Exactly right.
They will discipline themselves enough to go, okay, this is what I have to do.
And also, if the section leaders and leadership do it the correct way every time, the kids who are undisciplined, they care a lot more about their peers than they do about their band director.
Sure.
And they don't the leadership doesn't even have to yell at anybody. Now, hopefully they won't yell. Always told my kids the privilege of yelling at students only belongs to Mr. Lunney. It does not belong to the leadership. If I lose my crap and start yelling at a kid, then I'm the one who has to answer for it. If you yell at a kid, you're answering to me.
Right.
So we go about that point. So I just wanted to close that off with that, grit and discipline, because the rest of it is just brass tacks of this is how we do it every dadgum day. There's no change in how we do it. The day of state marching prelims, we go through the 5 points of alignment and we work on step off, and we do it exactly the same way we did on day 2 of summer band.
Right. So I think this is a great episode to bookmark, so you can go back and review that. I would make myself review this periodically throughout this upcoming marching season, just to make sure that, these are the points. This is what we should be doing. Great stuff, Mr. Lunney. Great stuff.
Thank you.